All right, well, good morning, everybody. This is Michelle Lansford. Welcome to Trek. So this is the fourth meeting of Two Rivers Entrepreneur Connection, or what we call Trek. It's a monthly gathering of entrepreneurs, mentors, advisors, and others to educate, engage, and connect entrepreneurs. Our organizing team picked the name Trek because we know the road to being a successful entrepreneur is, it's not a sprint, it's a trek. We've got a couple entrepreneurs on with us this morning, and one of them has been in business a long time, so he knows about the trek. But we're here to be a strong partner on your entrepreneurial journey. So just a few other items of information about Trek. Everybody is welcome. Meetings are open to anyone interested in hearing, supporting, and connecting with our area entrepreneurs. So there's no attendance requirements, no membership fees. Our gatherings are run by entrepreneurs and for entrepreneurs. Every month we have two presenters, one that's been in business for a longer time and one that's more of what we call an emerging entrepreneur, a little bit younger. Not necessarily always younger in years of age, but not having been in business as long. Meetings are always the first Tuesday of each month. 9 a.m. to 9:50 a.m. So if you have to get back at work or get your store opened up or whatever, you're going to be done before 10. While this meeting is being held virtually, we do hope to go to in-person soon. So we're going to do that as soon as we can. Maybe as soon as next month. We're going to be, our team is going to be monitoring what's going on with the local COVID situation, and we'll just have to play that by ear. So just a couple other housekeeping things. This session is being recorded and we will be sharing it on social media. So keep that in mind as you make comments or raise questions. Also, just to preserve our recording quality, please mute yourself if you have background noise, but don't forget to unmute yourself if you want to voice a question. You're also welcome to put comments in the chat box, which you should see on your meeting control bar. So before we get any further, I'd like to introduce our Trek team by name. We've got Mike Berry, Beth Nelson, Brian Carlson, John Sievertson, Kendall DeHaan, Kelsey Broading, Angie Wessling, and myself. So we're the Trek team that kind of organize things. A couple of announcements today. First of all, we just wrapped up the Money Smart for Small Business training last month, and all of those sessions are recorded. And so if you are interested in taking any of those sessions, they are available for you at no charge. Just go to the advancedthiefriver.com website, and we created actually a new business resource library page. So over time, we're going to keep adding resources to that page. So that will be a good reference for you in your business. Second, last month, the Advanced Thief River Board said, we'd like to extend a discount to any Trek attendees or participants who would like to be members of Advanced Thief River. So normally the Advanced Thief River rate is $275 for a year, and the discount then is $200. So if you're interested in being a member of Advanced Thief River and supporting economic development in our area, that's something for you to consider, and a discount for doing so. With that, we're going to give out our first door prize. So you are going to need your camera turned on if you want to win a door prize. And the first one is for best mug. So if you want to hold up your mug, and then we'll take a look and see what we've got here. Okay, and I'm going to stop my sharing because then it's going to be easier for us to see everybody. Okay, so, okay. Mike, do you want to pick out the best mug?
Are we going for faces or actually the coffee mug? Okay, there you go.
Good one.
I like Drew's.
All right, so Drew, you win a Trek mug actually, and you can pick that up at Hometown Realty. All right, so with that, we are going to introduce our first presenter. And Mike, I'll let you introduce our first presenter.
Well, thank you, Michelle. This is an honor of me to introduce Joe Kezar. He's been a resident most of his life. He's not born in Thief River Falls, but he's raised here. Joe and his wife have been married for 35 years and have raised 5 boys. Easy job, right, Joe? Joe purchased Larson Music in April of 1991. Over the last 30 years, they've transformed the business into a full-line retail music store. And Joe, we call this a seasoned entrepreneur. And I don't know if seasoning comes with salt and pepper, but welcome to Trek.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting, and Happy New Year, everyone. And like one of my boys always teased me when I say 30 years now, the fact that I purchased it in April of 91. So 4 out of 3 people are good at math. So actually it's going to be 30 years here quite soon. So, but yeah, it's funny with most, some memories when I start thinking about when I was invited to come and just share some of the history. 30 years, how fast that's gone. And I remember when Mike and I were first visiting about this, I remember starting out the business, and some people say, well, if you can make them first 5 years, you kind of, and but I'll tell you what, 5 years or 30 years or 25 or up to this date, there's always been challenges and times where you just always feel like you're on the wire, but keeps the juices flowing, if you know what I'm saying. But it was kind of nice to, when John Larson, Larson Music back in the day, I remember came out in the paper that he was going to be retiring, and Marsh and I, well, I worked in a music store in Fairbanks, Alaska, so I had somewhat of a taste of music retail, and had enjoyed that. So we thought, and I'd just gotten off the road with a band. We'd been on the road for a long time. We used to tour a lot and be gone a lot, and decided to maybe start staying home. And oh, what happened here? Okay, there I am. Stay home with the family, not travel so much. And when this opportunity came along, and met with John, and it was nice to have bought and my son. Because by buying that, because we could have just probably started up a store. He was going out of business, but we decided, no, we visited with him and kind of moved in that way. Because then we started looking at the music store has actually been around in Thief River Falls since 1922. And it was changed to Larson Music. I don't know at what time, but it was an interesting journey. But going back on all that time with John's father, Justice, and that buying that. So just going with all that history, and we're slowly compiling more and more of that. But that said, it's kind of nice to have that history behind us. And we started out on Labrie Avenue, down where Bergen Travel presently is now. That's when John had been there and in that store for a long time. The music business has always transpired. When they started out, it was kind of a little accordion shop, and then radios came along, and so it was a kind of a mix. I know at some time they've got into a lot of white goods, and so it's evolved a lot. And the years that I had it, when I first purchased it, it was primarily an audio video store. Actually, they had some instruments and some pianos, and we did a few things. And my goal was always to expand it and just become a full line music store, which we are today, where by that meaning we have pretty much anything. You want to come and get a PA system, we can have that. We can sell you band and orchestra instruments, drum sets, print music, keyboards, pianos, just anything. So that's what we've become after all these years. We purchased the building that we're presently at here on 315 Duluth Avenue North. It was a church, one of the older churches back in the day in this town site here. And we bought it in 1999 and renovated it, and then opened March 1st of 2000. So we've been here, going to be 21 years now coming up in March. So in this location, so how fast that goes. And even moving, that is about the time we faded out of the video, the televisions and the home stereo systems and that. And we still have a few of those little things if somebody needs it. But since then, we've been here, and kind of by that time we were a full-line store of music, and that's what we've done. And then always done music, not only the retail aspect of as far as the goods, but I've always worked hard on our services, started out on that, which we do a lot of the repairs. I'm more of a self-taught, did a lot of, especially now with online, but a lot of book reading and a lot of trial and error, to where I could hone that and learned how to repair band and orchestra instruments. And these last couple of years now, my son Billy had gone off to luthier school down in Red Wing, Minnesota. Did a 2-year stint there, learning building guitars, violins, mandolins, all that sort. And so that's what a luthier is a person that builds musical instruments. And I dabble, I'm learning. In fact, I've got a big upright piano over here now, all in pieces, working on that. And it's been fun learning how to repair them and making those all work. But having Billy back now these last years, we've moved our shop, expanded our repair shop, and business for that is slowly ticking up. People got the word out that we've got they're just bringing things in, and he's back at the bench working on something right now. So we're finding ourselves being actually more service oriented all the time, doing a lot more of the repairs, a lot of things coming in every day. So it's funny how things have shifted over the years, coming from in the early 1990s, in the mid 90s, where we were pretty much an audio video store. 40% of our business was probably selling recorded music. Vinyl had already phased out, so the CD was the big thing, and that's all gone. Print music has become a challenge as with so many things coming online. So we're finding service being more of a thing like that. And of course, Billy's come up and has taken our website presence, especially going through COVID, when we were shut down earlier in 2020. When we were closed, we just sat down on our benches and we started just repairing like crazy. And he's worked well at posting things online, and we've been shipping guitars and instruments now more so than I had been doing prior. Probably with a lot of people being more homebound in that, they were saying, I can't go anywhere. I'm working from home. I want to pick up the guitar again and get back on it. So we've been seeing some uptick in guitars because of it. So, and keyboards, people staying home just wanting to play, have more time. So that's cool. So that's how that's worked on that. Moving forward here now, we're in fact, my phone ringing here. That's my son out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. He's a barber, and he's been working out there. And now we're getting the ball rolling. Just actually since yesterday, talking with the city planner and things. Shut down our cup of Joe. So we still have coffee here, but it's free. We started giving the coffee shop. We just started years back. People coming in and browsing around. How would you like a cup of coffee? And well, what's it cost? It don't cost anything. So if you ever want to come in, you have a free cup of Joe, but browse around or just to chat. But we've shut the coffee shop down in that little nook corner, which Billy and I, since he's been back the last couple of years, we've expanded our repair room, and we'll make a repair room out of it. And it's worked out really, really well. Well, now Andrew, he's wanting to move back here because he said, Dad, that area there would really make a nice barber shop. So that's what we're moving forward to doing there. So we're just getting some contractors are just over yesterday with their tape measures. So that's probably going to be happening now in the next few months. So I'd say by June or so, there'll be some haircutting going on around here. And he's a full line barber graduate. It's barber school. If you want your beard trimmed, or you want a razor shave or a hot razor shave or haircuts, that's what's going to be going on there. So we're going to, as I fade away, these boys, Billy and Andrew, will be taking over the shop here, and we'll have a music store and a barber shop. So that's kind of what we've got moving forward. But it's been fun over these years, having been involved with the Chamber of Commerce quite a bit. I was chairman in 1999, and again, and I want to say 2016, something like that. So I've been involved in and out and seen a lot of things. What I'm excited to see now in these latter years now is in the downtown area, having those first 10 years in business being on LaBrie Avenue. And to be honest, starting in 1991, anybody that can remember it, there was a lot of small shops starting to close back then. Big box stores were starting to move in. And that's probably why John Larson decided was to go into something else, because he saw the Circuit Cities and the Best Buys and all these big box stores coming in. And it was a tough transition. We're starting to see some things kind of roll around the other way again, where small shops and services are becoming important, or people are realizing. And what I've noticed with this COVID is people are stopping in, and like I think most of us are doing with restaurants being closed right now, is to support them. Well, let's do a takeout and just do what we can. So everybody kind of hangs together and does things like that. So it's pretty cool. That's pretty much in a nutshell what I can think of. I'm really just a winger. You can tell I've been bouncing around in my conversations. I don't have any notes down so that I can stay on track. I've always winged it, and I'm winging it right now, folks. When I went into business, I remember sitting down with the small business at the college out there, and I had my spreadsheets and what I thought would work from my short experience in a music store in Fairbanks, Alaska in the 70s. And they said, boy, it's not going to work, Joe. And I went home and I said, hey, Marshall, we're going to buy a music store. So that's how much I listen to anything sometimes. If you have a passion, I have a shadow student, a senior at Lincoln High School, job shadowing here now, interested in music. And of course, it doesn't have to be retail music. As me being a musician and a performer and having made a living doing that, toughens you up maybe for some things about trying to keep a band on a road. Tell you, but it's just been a fun thing. So that's about all I have. So I think we're going to open it up to some questions, if I'm not mistaken. If anyone has anything for me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joe. That was fantastic. So yeah, questions for Joe, or even comments.
Joe, do you see that technology changing is a big part of your business? I know with the music instruments, I'm sure a lot of that is kind of, you're not really changing the technology but with the speakers and stuff, are you having to stay on top of technology pretty consistently?
Yeah. Right now, in fact, that's what I was working at earlier this morning. We've got a system now, and I've been using it for a few years now with a lot of the mixing consoles and things that we do when we do production in the summer, like with Riverfest, a lot of county fairs. With digital consoles now, we've learned I can walk around with an iPhone or an app, and I can run my mixing console off I can basically do anything I have from my studio upstairs here, where I've still got a full console or touring console with all this outboard rack here that I still use. I still like to go analog digital, but with digital, I can do anything on a laptop or on a computer, and then some. It's just amazing. So yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes, and you're constantly trying to learn. It's something. In this with technology too, the scary thing, like I talked about, we used to have a lot of our business was selling audio product, CDs. Well, now it was the day, if we remember when Napster came out, it was like hitting a light switch in my store, because we'd have a noon rush every day, and I had one full-time employee, and that all they did was buy and purchase special orders and stock recorded music. And it was once Napster came, because we used to have a flood of high school students, and that would come over on their lunch and look through the new releases on music and that. And all of a sudden you got music free. It just stopped. That was my first shock of just, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? And that was the start of the change. And that would have been around 1998, I want to say, somewhere around there. That was an eye opener. So hang on, here we go. It's been fun.
Yeah, when I hear you talk about that, the one word that comes to mind is flexibility. And when you've been in business for 3 decades, you've seen a lot of changes over time. How important is flexibility? And is that something that you think people can learn? Entrepreneurs, can we learn to be flexible, or what are your thoughts on that, and how important is it?
Well, it's very important, and as fast as anything changes now, but it was a big pill for me to swallow. I'll be the first to admit that. When that happened, I just, oh, we're sinking. What, the sky is falling, and you just start. Well, then we jump in. So what do you do? Well, you go on, and basically how I unloaded all my recorded music, because this went from, they were $15-20 a piece to, well, who's going to buy a CD when I can get it for nothing? Although the quality was not, but look how it's all changed in recorded music now. Everything's downloaded. You buy your tunes for $1 a piece, and it's, they've evolved. But it was but yeah, I just learned. Well, we ended up putting all our product. Luckily, I had I've always had high school students work for me in the early, up until these last few years. Now with Billy back, we don't. But and they came in and, hey, we're starting this new. Some of these guys in the mid 90s coming in, we're learning how to design websites in high school. So they came in, and so I've had a website presence since 1996, and we just started honing that. And well, we started putting things and putting product on ever since then. So you just, okay, this is what we're gonna have, and you just have to learn to be flexible and shift. And small business, at the college, they were helpful in those early years too. Don Johnson was his name. And I was fortunate enough to get him his last year before he retires, coming in and helping me with bookkeeping. And it was huge. And he always said, you can sell anything. Just because you think you have a music store doesn't mean it always has to be that. He said, you always keep an open mind. And I always kept that in mind. And he would come back to, yeah, okay, it's time to, look around. What else can we do? So.
Great, thanks.
Joe, I have a.
Yeah.
Joe, on marketing, do you spend a lot of time on marketing? I mean, probably at the beginning, you had a lot of marketing versus today. What's the difference? I mean, we have a lot of Amazons out there and whatever, but how do you personally market Kezar music now?
Well, in the days back, in fact, I was just working with Billy now in this transition we're doing. We're going through a lot of old records, and I'm finding old newspaper clippings and everything that we used to do a lot more with that. And for me, we don't do any of that anymore. We just don't. And most people say, boy, if you don't advertise, that's just a nail in the coffin. But so we just use social media to our best and kind of do that. I've kind of actually turned that these last couple of years over to Billy. With our website, he's slowly just kind of transforming that, and we've learned to really streamline it. You can remember when we all first started doing our websites, and you had this long musical intro and all that. People aren't interested in any of that. When I want to look up something, I want it right now. So you just get to the point. And we're going to start moving more on just doing more online tutorials. It's like, hey, here's how to put a string on a guitar. All these little things. We're going to just throw out these little 15-second things. So that's kind of moving forward. But back in the day before internet, when we did a lot of paper and radio and things like that. Well, now we're and just little things. I don't know if some of you saw, Billy and I and my nephew put out a little music clip, 30-second long little Christmas jingle. We do it every year. We just play a little video. This year we kind of did a little more editing with iMovie, which was fun. We just made a little Deck the Halls, I think we did. Just a little piano thing. And so if you haven't seen that, just go on Facebook and watch it. It's kind of it. But we got 2,000 hits in 5 days. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, keep it interesting.
Joe, I wanted to start by saying, complimenting you on your website. I think a lot of small businesses are in the dinosaur age when it comes to keeping their websites updated. And I just checked yours out when you were talking. It looked really good. The second thing I wanted to ask was, what's your favorite part about running your business? Because it sounds like you've been through a lot. What's your favorite part about it?
Oh, it's so diverse. There's something new all the time. Now, this afternoon, I got to go work on a PA system at the Ralph. They've got some glitches there. So I don't really have I do lessons now. That's another service that we've shifted into, doing lessons. Primarily, most of my students are in that 8 to 15, but I do some adults, and it's really fun. Like I mentioned in that little bio, over the years with I remember you when you were in, in going up through music, and of course your dad was we were in band together, but that's been really fun too. It's been really rewarding to see some of these young players come along and evolve. And of course, over the years, going back into the 90s, some of those musicians now have become, one stopped in over the holidays, which really meant a lot to me, just to stop and say hi. Hadn't seen him in a long time. He's a professional musician down, plays in the Orlando Symphony. So pretty cool gig. So some of the boys, the Tweetbach boys, Daryl Tweetbach's boys down there in the cities doing some awesome stuff. Eric Bjornstead, a lot of them gone on, and not so much as musicians, but doing a lot of cool tech stuff, Fox Sports doing, yeah. So,
That's cool.
Studio work. Yeah, it's very fun. So that's fun, just to see young people go out and, kind of reminds you how old you're getting, but it's fun.
I'm going to claim the last question here for Joe. If you were going to advise a young entrepreneur, somebody looking at starting a business, what would be the most important thing that you would want them to know about starting a business?
Well, I don't think that's ever changed, and it maybe ever, especially on a small shop. But you be prepared to put in some hours. That's probably not what anybody wants to hear. But if you're really passionate about what you do, and you're going to be forced to hold yourself to the line when you promise something to be done, you stay there till it's done. That's just the way it is. And yeah, it's just, you're going to have to put in some time. Anybody, you could go, I don't care. When I was sick with COVID most of November, and I lay in bed, so I'm watching all these YouTube little clips on mostly musicians, and that became successful. And I just like the stories. And there isn't one that says how hard and how much work, even to be up. You got to practice. If these musicians you watch play, 10,000 hours of muscle memory to master an instrument. That's about 7 years of practicing 2 hours a day, if my 4 out of 3 math is any good. So it's just put in some time. And if you like it, you've heard, everybody hears that, if you like what you do, if you look forward to getting up in the morning and going to work, it doesn't matter. The hours don't matter, I don't think. So.
Hey, that's great. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Joe. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we are going to introduce now our second presenter. So John, can you introduce our second presenter for us?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Well, Drew Erickson was born and raised in Thief River Falls by his parents, Tim and Veronica Erickson. After high school, he moved to the Twin Cities for 5 years, where he studied economics at the University of Minnesota, the U of M. Started his career in financial planning shortly after that. In 2016, he and his wife moved back to Thief River Falls to be closer to their families and opened an office in downtown Thief River Falls to help the good people with their financial planning.
Yes, thanks for having me. So first and foremost, as you mentioned there, I am a huge Gophers fan, understandably, and I had to do a quick shout out on the hockey team being 10-0, number 1 ranked in the country. We all know that's the most important thing. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, I guess one correction of the information I provided is I actually started my career while I was in school. So I'll get to that in my story. But like you said, I was born and raised in Thief River Falls. I absolutely loved it. Was extremely fortunate. I come from a extremely supportive and secure background in the sense that my parents, like you said, Tim Erickson works at Northside Bank, has worked there for like 35 years. My mom works for Sailor Dentistry and has worked there for like 30 plus years. And they've lived in the same house since they got married, and they raised me and my brother and my sister in the same house. And I think when I reflect on the society we live in today, I just am extremely thankful for the security that I received from them and the support that I received from them. And it's really a lot of what I strive to provide for my family in the future is what I receive from them, in the sense that not only do they provide for me, but they also were always at my events. And I think that's, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but I really think that's really my definition of success, is the ability to not only provide for my family, but also be there for them. I genuinely cannot think of a single event growing up where I didn't have at least one of my parents, if not both, there. And that's not easy to do, as we all know, when you're working and supporting other children as well. So I grew up here. I was really active in the community growing up. I'm always been passionate about being active in things I'm passionate about. So whether it's playing sports or being involved in activities, I know I was not, it doesn't matter how many sports. I played sports in school and I was in NHS and all this different stuff. Doesn't matter what I did 10 years ago, but it led me to going to University of Minnesota Twin Cities. And that's where I studied economics. And I loved it down there. I actually went to school, didn't know what I wanted to study. I did the reverse of what you're supposed to do. I chose the school before I chose what I wanted to do. I just knew I loved Gopher sports, and my sister went to the U, and I was like, yeah, I just want to go there. So then I spent about 2 years trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, studying anything from sports management to economics to pre-physical therapy. And then I went back to economics, and primarily because I've always been fascinated by why things work and why we do things and why things happen, not what, which is why I actually had a harder time learning Spanish than I did learning calculus, chemistry, or biology, just because to tell me that something is something because something, it doesn't work that way. I have to know why. And yeah, my brain really gets cut up if you just tell me to accept something. So from there, about my junior year or my summer going into my senior year, I knew I wanted to have an internship, because my brother-in-law and my sister both had internships going to their senior years and graduated with jobs from college. And that was my goal, because I'd seen so many of my friends graduate and spend a year plus not having a job, having to move home with their parents, and not having a job and not knowing what they're going to do with their lives. So that was my big goal. Was like, all right, I'm going to have an internship going to my senior year to either springboard me into a job or at least tell me what I don't want to do. And that's where I found myself at. I ended up working with Foster Cleveland Company and an internship going into my senior year of college. So my summer, and then all the way through my senior year, I studied and worked. And that's where I really fell in love with the work that I do, and started in this business back in 2014. And I didn't know that I loved it when I started. It was just something to do, like I said, with an internship. But the more and more I learned about what we do and why we do it, the more I fell in love with the work that we do. And I guess a big reason for that impacted me, and I didn't realize it until after the fact, was, I told you about the lifestyle I had growing up with the parents that I had and how fortunate I was. But what I didn't tell you was the flip side of that, where early in, I guess when I was probably early 2000s, my aunt got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And she had group benefits, and she had all the stereotypical group benefits. You get their work. She worked for U of M. But what many people don't realize is what they don't have through their group. And what they realize is with the expenses of multiple sclerosis, they couldn't afford in-home assisted care or assisted living out of the home. So my uncle had to work more. My two cousins, who were about my age, had to go to school and then go straight home and help take care of their mom. So while I was extremely I could basically do whatever I want to do, my cousins had to go home and take care of their mother while her health deteriorated over a 10-year period. And then she passed away, and about 6 months to a year later, my uncle of the same family got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a terminal cancer that attacks your white blood cells. So that to me just engraved my passion for helping people understand how they can protect themselves and their loved ones. And how unfortunate it is that most people don't have a clue what they currently have in place and what it does for them in the worst case scenario. A lot of people know they have something, but they don't really know how it works and how when they actually need it. And that's the worst case scenario, and why unfortunately we often see benefits around the community when things do happen, is because a lot of people aren't given the opportunity to protect themselves before something happens. And once something does happen, like COVID or anything like that, it's too late. So if you want to reflect it to a business planning standpoint, it's really hard to build an emergency fund when you're already out of business. So as an easy example. So that's really why I fell in love with the work that I do and continued doing it. Back in 2016, I was afforded the opportunity to move back to Thief River Falls and open my own office here, which is in the same location it's been, which is the China King building across from Styles Miami. And end of 2014, end of 2019, I decided to make a transition. So I was originally with Foster Cleveland Company, and that's where I fell in love with the work that I do. But I found myself in a bit of a rut. And going back to the flexibility point that Joe pointed out, I wasn't I was just really in a position where I wanted to get more focused in my business. And I felt like I needed to really get clear on what did I want my business to look like in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And that's where I sat down with a couple of mentors of mine in the industry, and we really got clear on what is my why and what do I believe in. And I found that in addition to helping people protect themselves, that I really love our country, but I don't believe our government or Wall Street should control our financial future. So that's where that belief really aligned strongly with Solid Rock Financial Group. And that's why I transitioned over to them, is because our beliefs aligned a lot closer with what I wanted my business to look like and who I wanted to work with moving forward. And the number one thing I learned in my 5+ years of being in business is working with people who believe what you believe, and really being true to yourself on what you believe. Because I found that if you try to be a chameleon and do anything for everyone, they end up being frustrated. You end up being frustrated because your beliefs don't align. But if I can really just work with people that believe what I believe, and we're both passionate about the same things, it's going to be a lot cleaner and honest relationship where we're really trying to strive for the same thing. So trying to explain that without getting into like products and like really salesy or anything like that. So hopefully that explanation makes sense. But like I said, the biggest key, the example I've tried to make up, and I'm definitely not always clear as I want to be, is, if you want to buy a sub, you don't go to Pizza Hut, you go to Subway, for example. And I found that if you're in my business, we try, or in many businesses, if we try to do everything for everyone, we end up getting spread way too thin. So just like Joe is an expert at music, it probably wouldn't be efficient for him to go try and run, Petro Pumper out of the same office and at the same time. So that's really my biggest lesson, is really trying to be true to myself and what I believe, and work with others who believe the same things. And that's where I've gotten to where I am today. So I've been in business 5.5 years, and I love living back in Thief. My wife and I, our number one value in life is family, and that's why we moved back to town, was because my wife is Brittany Erickson now, was Brittany Johnson. Her parents both live in Thief. She was born and raised here. We started dating in high school. And my parents both live here. So we really love being close to our families. And we have 4 nieces and nephews in town. We have our daughter was born in September. So we have a 4-month-old now, and that's an adjustment, but it's awesome. And I guess I don't know where else you want me to go with that, or if you want me to go anywhere else, or just stop talking. I could probably talk for a very long time, which if anyone knows me knows. So I guess I'll just leave it there and let you guys ask any questions on anything if I missed anything.
Thanks a lot, Drew. That was fantastic. So questions for Drew or comments? Anyone?
So how difficult was that transition from your company? I know it's not like a normal job per se, where you would have somebody hire you and fire you. I mean, you were choosing that company to work for, right? So how was that transition for you?
Are you talking about from Foster Clayman to Solid Rock Financial Group?
Yep.
Yeah, it was there was 2 challenges to it. First, it was the really nice thing about being in business that I am, is that without getting too into the insurance and investment world, as an independent broker, I'm not required to sell one company. So I actually didn't lose any clients. Like, I didn't have to lose any clients in the transition. I could basically just carry them over and keep servicing them. And it was great because there wasn't that restriction. Whereas some companies you can only sell one thing. So if you leave the company, you can't really, keep that client necessarily. So that wasn't a struggle. The struggle was, or the challenge was, when I got really true to what I believed, kind of reintroducing myself and my beliefs to all my current clients, and making sure we're a good fit. And being really honest with them about, you're a great person. Let's stay friends, but maybe we shouldn't work together. Maybe there's someone else in town that you should work with because their beliefs more align with yours than mine do. And then really having those honest conversations, that it was really I'll say I put a mental blocks in my mind of thinking they're going to hate me. But I found that more often than not, I think everyone appreciated the honesty because they wanted to be on the same page with their advisor as well. And it ended up, in the beginning, it was a huge challenge, especially mentally. In the end, it really freed me up mentally. because now even those friends that I have that I no longer work with, but we used to work together, we're on the same page, and there's not that awkward step around of, you know, they think this and I think this, but why are we doing that? So that, I think that would be that was really the biggest challenge of actually going back to the clients I already had and having to explain to them the vision of my business and letting them, or kind of us mutually determine, does it make sense for us to continue working together?
All right. Other questions?
I have one here, Drew, for retirement. Do you help people with retirement investments?
I do. Yes. So I won't get into the details by any means, but like I said, from a belief standpoint, because I think that's really the most important thing. I just truly believe that good people, good, hardworking people deserve to have more control of their money, more security in retirement, and to lose less to taxes unnecessarily. And if that's your beliefs as well, then yes, I do that for my clients. If it's not your beliefs, that's okay, but I'm probably not your guy. And I think that's a really important thing, because kind of extending my answer, unfortunately, I find that a lot of people are really good at doing what they do, but aren't afforded the opportunity to understand what all their options are. So they end up doing what everyone else does. And unfortunately, what we're seeing in our society is the majority of people aren't actually happy with what their retirement plan looks like when that day comes. So maybe we should try to look at things in a little bit different light and challenge the status quo.
Sounds good.
All right. I loved hearing how the health problems that your aunt and uncle had, how that impacted you and kind of shaped you and pushed you. And I think many of us as entrepreneurs have had similar things, you know, things that in our personal lives that have kind of just impressed us in a way that caused us to move down a certain path. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because it just, I guess just hearing those personal drivers really helps us, I think, to understand each other and to connect in a deeper way. So thanks for sharing that. I really appreciated that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for your kind words.
Yeah. And I'm also hearing, you know, the difference between staying true to your values, but still staying flexible. You know, when I think about both Drew and Joe, you know, there's staying true to your values, but still staying flexible, you know, and, you know, Drew, even, you know, in the time that you've been in business, you changed companies. So you stayed true to your values, but you still made that change because you saw that it was something that would be better aligned with your values. So I think that's a good line to walk, staying true to values, but still flexible, looking for the best fit for each of us as businesses.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, I want to be very clear. Foster Clean was a great company. So
Yeah.
I have no slight against them. I want to be very clear on that. It was a better fit for me in my current role, or my current association, I guess we'll say.
Sure. Any final questions for Drew?
I have one. So I've met with Drew, and he's like, he puts things in layman's terms and makes it very understandable, which for me, like numbers and all that stuff, I'm like, ugh. So what's your favorite like book or podcast or something with financials that is easy to understand for, like, you know, not numbers people?
Okay, so that's a good one. Ironically, I don't listen to that many financial podcasts because I feel like I'm thinking it all the time and like talking to my colleagues about it, that I actually try to give myself a mental break from it. So I have a lot of books that I read, and I try to read an hour every morning I try to spend an hour every morning in self-development, and that's usually books, YouTube videos, and things like that. So I can't really give you a specific example there unless you want to talk offline, and I could look through maybe some of my stuff. But off the top of my head, as far as podcasts go, because I do love podcasts, Lewis Howes, The School of Greatness, is my absolute number one recommendation. If your goal is to be a better person, that's why I listen to his podcast. It's anything from the Wim Hof method to financial stuff to, I mean, it's a vast, it's everything, right? He just brings on people and they talk about how to be good people essentially and be successful. And the second one would be Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. He is the absolute, in my opinion, guru when it comes to being up to date on marketing. In his words, market where people are going, not where they've been. Spend your time, put your money and your attention into where people are going, not where they've been and things like that. So I get a lot of inspiration from him on not only doing things that you're uncomfortable with. So basically, if I had to put Gary Vee in a nutshell, you can't read about push-ups and get in better shape. You actually have to do them, right? So that's always his thing about being a business owner is you can't just want to be a business owner. You actually have to put the work in to be a business owner. And he's really inspired me in a lot of ways without ever meeting the guy. He's inspired me to do a lot of things, including my Money Not Math series, which I was kind of afraid to go online and put myself out there and create these videos of my opinions and reviews and things like that. And he'd been encouraging me without knowing it for a while. And then I told my wife about it and she basically called me out for being a wimp and said, well, if you want to do it, then do it. And so I did. It's been about a year and a half, or about a year, a little over a year now. I've made about 90 plus videos and podcasts. So those would be my two recommendations. If you're looking for just being a better person, inspiration, Lewis Howes, The School of Greatness. If you're looking for business inspiration, Gary V is the title. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's a business and marketing guru.
All right. Well, thanks, Drew. Thanks a lot. Let's give Drew a hand. Thank you, Drew. It was great.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Great. All right. So we're going to thank also our presenter. Northern State Bank has sponsored Trek. So we just want to acknowledge them. Thank you, Northern State Bank, for your support. We appreciate that. And we're going to finish out today by giving out our last door prize. So we have John Severson, who is going to walk us through that.
Yeah, so I think what we like to do is make sure you guys are paying attention to what's going on. So we like to usually pull out something from our presentation. And since Drew already won, I kind of wanted to pull out something from him so we could get somebody else out there. So question about Drew, what did he study at the U of M?
Economics.
Nicely done, Joe. So Joe is the winner of our second door prize.
All right. Well, congratulations, Joe. You have a Trek mug. You can pick that up at Hometown Realty.
Okay.
And you can drink some of that good Joe.
Yay.
Your new mug. All right. Well, this was a fantastic connection. Pardon the pun. Fantastic connection. And mark your calendar for next month, first Tuesday of the month, February 5. We do have Steve and Ladora Dolan lined up to speak next time. And we're working on a second presenter. If there's someone you think would be a great presenter, encourage them to fill out the application on the Trek page of the Advanced Thief River website. And that's a great way for them to get connected to us. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.